In my last video, I introduced the idea of the cyber gray metallic twins. And if you haven't looked at the JetSteam Blue Twins video either in the same series, I encourage you to do so. I think it's a neat project. And that one, we're actually building two JetStream Blue twin Corvettes, one supercharged, one turbocharged, from essentially the ground up to be street monsters. So I already had a cyber gray ZR1, and when I saw the car behind me, a couple of things clicked. One, it's a cyber gray Z06. Two, it's twin turbo, so it was already built. And the idea of the cyber gray metallic twins kind of came into my head. And it's interesting to me because we can look at this same thing I'm trying to do with the Jetstream Blue Twins, that is supercharged versus turbocharged on the Corvette platform, but we can do it quicker because we don't have to build the cars, and we can do it at about half the horsepower, but we're still talking about 4-digit horsepower. So it's still going to be something that's interesting. So with that, I'd like to introduce the car behind me, which is a Cyber Gray '09 C6 Corvette Z06. Before we get started, all of the typical caveats apply. It's a built motor. I'm going to forget stuff. I'm going to walk through the motor like I usually do. I'm forgetting things along the way. So by all means, if I miss something you think's important, leave me a comment and I'll make sure I address it. We're going to start this car like we usually do on the air intake side. We'll do intake through the motor and then exit output. This car is a twin turbo car. So the turbos are actually under the motor and the air intake's obviously right by where the turbos are at. So air enters underneath the car and gets pushed through charge pipes that go into the air to water intercoolers, which live essentially right behind the fog lamps in this C6. It's a really slick setup. You would never know from the outside this is a TT car or a boosted car. The fog lights look stock-ish. They're tinted, but they look really good. So behind that's the air to water intercoolers. That intercooler set is fed by, I believe it's a 16-gallon tank in the trunk. So plenty of water to make sure this thing gets cool air. From there, air flows through the intake tubes here into and through the 102 millimeter Nick Williams throttle body, into the LSXR 102 fast intake, and then into the motor. On the motor side, obviously we're going first through the heads, and those are masked black label heads, ported, polished, custom valve and a spring setup for boost. And then from those masked heads into the motor itself, and the motor is interesting on this car. It's a 440 CI aluminum RHS block. So it's about a 7.2 liter motor. And that is adorned with diamond pistons, Oliver rods. It's got a Callie's Dragon's Hair crank and a custom grind cam to make the valve train happy on this boosted setup. Feeding the motor with fuel, we've got a 4 triple pump fuel system. A couple notes. This is an E85 car, runs on 93 and E85. So we've got a 4 triple system. We've got that feeding through into LSXR billet fuel rails into 2200 cc Bosch injectors. So plenty of fuel for this setup because it makes a ton of horsepower, but a nice all-around fuel setup for this monster. It also has a meth kit installed, and I've been told it was never used, but it was installed just in case. So we've got a meth kit on top of all the E85 goodness as well. On the output side, we've got American Racing headers, and I think they're 1 7/8. I'm not positive on that. They're coated black, which is a nice look. That goes into a set of American Racing mid pipes, and then into a B&B Fusion exhaust system. So again, the turbos are down there, and it's nice because we've got a full exhaust system on this Z06. And the cool bit about the exhaust system too is it's got essentially double cutouts. It's got cutouts on the axle back portion of the exhaust, like in the actual pipes themselves, and it's got the louvers on the B&B Fusion mufflers as well. So we can essentially close this thing up and make it pretty quiet, and then open it full up or partially when we're getting on it to make some noise and to get some air flowing. So it's an interesting C6 Corvette exhaust setup. This car's on an aftermarket ECU also. It was set up with a Pro EFI kit, and essentially it takes over the entire engine management and provides some extra features like traction management and so on. It's kind of cool as well. There's a switch in the console for the 5 map settings. So we've got 5 power levels on this car. And I'll go through that in just a minute. But the point is, it's a Pro EFI car. But again, all the gauges still work. Everything looks normal. You'd never know it was an aftermarket ECU if you didn't know that existed. This car, like my JetSteam Blue Z06, is running the B92 Hood. That, for those of you who don't know, is essentially, it's like a ZR1 hood, but without the windows, so it's all carbon. It's got the exposed carbon underneath, and it's got the hump just like the ZR1 does. It's a mean looking hood on these cars. It makes the car look mean and stock at the same time. It came stock on, I believe, the 427 edition Z06 and the carbon edition Z06, and it's a really cool addition to these cars. Beyond all the motor and trans and other upgrades on this car, did a bunch of aesthetic things that I like that make it look unique, and a lot of them very stock looking, but give it a nice look overall. So they've got a nice set of the GA1R forged line wheels on this car, which are just awesome looking. And I've wanted a pair for a long time, and I was kind of happy to get it on a car because they're expensive. Beyond that, there's the ZR1 carbon lip and the ZR1 carbon side skirts. It's got coilovers on all four sides on this car, which makes it cool because we can set the stance, and they're legit fat style coilovers as they are. We've got the B92 hood, like I had mentioned before, which is an awesome addition as well. It just gives the car a good look. On the interior side, they upgraded to Caravaggio seat sets, and so it's got the custom seats, which look so much better and feel so much better than the stock C6 Corvette seats. That's the one thing I hate about these C6 Corvettes is the seat setup. They cheaped out. But besides that, the interior has been upgraded a little bit in terms of the shift knob and some of the other bits are Alcantara. Again, a really nice stock-ish looking look. All right, so I'm sure you're yelling at your screen by now, like, dude, did you dyno it? Dude, what did it make power-wise? Dude, what's going on? Yes, we did dyno it. Before I tell you the numbers, though, again, it's got a 5 power level setting on this Pro EFI. I think 1 is supposed to be 850-ish wheel horsepower, and I believe it's on E85. And then the max setting is supposed to be around 14 to 1500 horsepower. And so we got to level 3, and even into level 4, and started having traction issues. And so I forget where we actually ended up in terms of what setting we were on. I believe it was 3. It could be 4. We never had a clean run at 4, I don't think. So the numbers came in, though, at 1287 wheel horsepower and 1161 torque. So the car is no joke. It came, as you see it, and we dynoed it literally the day after I got it. So it's got some power, and we're gonna have some fun with it. So again, the goal here is to pit it against my gray ZR1, do some 60 to 130 pulls, get some nice video and commentary on that, and once it warms up here in Michigan, I'll get some of that rolling. Again, thanks for watching. I've got an Instagram channel for these cars at CGM Twins with a Z on Instagram. And obviously, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Tell your friends. We've got a lot more projects coming. I'm sure you see it's over there. It may not be in frame. My gray Trailblazer, that's a project that's going to be a monster also. I'll explain at some point soon if it's something that interests you all. But by all means, please comment, like, all that good stuff, and I'll talk to you all soon.